All right, good morning everyone. Mr. Sagi here. So today we are going to be building ourselves a giant block of cake. Now I've already built the code. You can see a little bit of it off on the left hand side there, but I'm just going to show you how this works right now. So I'm going to press M to mod, and this one takes a minute because there's a lot of stuff going on and there's a lot of cake being put down. So let's just sit here and enjoy each other's company for a moment while it puts down all of that cake. Here we go. Any minute now. Any minute. Any moment. I might just cut. Oh, here we go. And there we go. This is a giant block of cake. Let's go ahead. You can see it's enormous. It reaches up really high and it stretches that far out in the back as well. We'll go dig through the cake. You can see it goes down some ways as well. Oh, well, we're trapped now in the cake dimension. You can see this is a very, very, very large block of cake. We'll actually go ahead and dig all the way through that. So yeah, this is what we're going to try to make today. And believe it or not, we can very easily scale up the size of this cake as well. I don't necessarily recommend it because the screen's not that big and sometimes it crashes. But anyways, so the code that we're going to be doing today is all of this stuff right here. So it may look like a lot all at once, but don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is go to your home page and then click on Play and then Mods. We're going to create a new program right here. We're going to call this one Crazy Cake. Crazy Cake. There we go. No exclamation points though, it doesn't like that. And then go ahead and click Blockly Multiplayer and you should see, bam, right over here, Crazy Cake. So we'll click on that there. Then click Code right in the corner. And here we are, right in our coding window. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you always want to do when you're making a new program is to create a new function. So let's go ahead and click Function, then drag one of these guys over and name it Main. Just like that. And now the next thing that we're going to want to do, since we are going to be placing a couple of blocks down, we're going to want to make sure that, since we're going to be placing a couple blocks down, we want to have some sort of drone to do that. So go ahead, let's grab ourselves a new drone. And remember, we need to name the drone. So grab yourself a variable and then drag that in there. And let's call the drone D. There we go. And now let's go ahead and click on drone. And then drone D places blocks of type. Now we're going to go get cake blocks. So go to materials. Then click on A through C, because cake begins with C. Scroll down until you see cake block right here. Don't click cake, that won't work. You gotta have a cake block. Bam, just like that. Now let's go ahead and test this out. Make sure that it's working. Here we go. And now, if we just press the M button, we should see a block of cake form. Yay! But we're going to want something much bigger than that. So let's go ahead and let's scale this guy up a bit. Now we are going to be doing one thing pretty differently from how we have in the past. I'm going to show you right now. So this is our little drone right here. And in the past we've always told the drone to, let's say, move up a space and place a block, and then move up another space and then place a block, and then move up a third space and place a block, and then move to the right and place a block. And this works pretty well, but it does start to get confusing, because after the drone's moved all over the place, it can sometimes be kind of difficult to figure out exactly where the drone is, and it's hard to tell it what to do. So we're going to make things a little bit simpler for ourselves. Instead of telling the drone to move up and then move up again and then move to the right or left and whatnot, instead what we're going to do is we're going to tell the drone to move up and then move back to the start, and then move somewhere else and then move back to the start. That way we always know exactly where the drone is, and it's a little bit easier to give him commands. So we're going to do this. Let's head back over to our code for a second. Head back to the code, and I will show you. So yes, here we go. What we're going to need to do is we're going to create a new variable. So click Variable and drag one of these guys over and just stick that right in the top right here. And we're going to name this variable, let's say, height. Okay? So a variable is really just a way of naming something. It could be a number, it could be an object, it could be a drone, it could be any number of different things. And now whenever we say, hey, go do something with height, the computer is going to go and look and see what we have stored in the variable. So in this case, I'm going to store a number in it. So go ahead and click on Math. And up at the top, you'll see a 0 right here. Go ahead and stick that right there. So now, whenever we say height, the computer is going to go back and figure out whatever the value of height is. In this case, it's 0. The fun thing is, though, we can change the variable at any point that we want. So this is going to be extremely helpful for us. So first things first, though, let's go ahead. Let's go and tell the drone, move in direction up, distance. It's got to be the blue one right here, because we can go ahead. We can actually swap that out. So let's go ahead and click that, get rid of it, and replace it with, if you click your variables, you should see you have a variable for height right here. Stick that right there. So now the computer will go and it will say, okay, oh, height is 0. Okay, create a new drone, move the drone, distance, height. And the computer says, oh, well, height is 0, so move the drone up 0. Got it. Okay, place a cake block. So now, if we go ahead and test this out in the editor, you should see, that the program looks pretty much exactly the same as it did before. It does exactly the same thing. That's because the drone is moving up a distance of 0. If we were to, say, change this number to 10, however, and we'll go ahead and refresh that. Test this guy out. Here we go. You should see, bam, it placed our block way up high in the air. So, what we're going to do is we're going to now create a loop. And we're going to say, okay, 10 times, we're going to set D to new drone, which means that we're going to just create a new drone at our original spot every single time. That way, we're not worrying about where the drone is now. We're just telling him to move back to the beginning, back to the starting point. And we're going to tell him to move a distance of height, and then place a cake block. And we're going to set height back to 0. Make sure you do that. But now here's the really fun thing. What we're going to do now is we're going to change the distance of height every time the repeat loops. So go ahead and click on Math again. And now you should see the second one down here. It's got 2 holes and a plus sign in the middle. Go ahead and drag this guy down. And let's go ahead and grab a variable as well. Click the top one, set item to blank, and stick that on the bottom. Then stick this blue guy right into the puzzle piece hole there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set height to, let's grab a variable again, and stick height in here, and then go to Math, and grab one of these number blocks right here, and stick that right in there, and change it to 1. So now that's a lot of steps, so go ahead and take a moment if you need to. You can pause it if you like. There's my wife down there. Mr. Ben, it is I, Mrs. Ben. Well, that's exciting. So now what we should have is a little bit different from what we've done in the past, but you'll see that. So we're creating a variable, and we're calling that variable 0. So that variable is number 0. And now we've got a big repeat loop here. We're going to create a new drone. The drone is going to move distance height. Now remember, height at the moment is equal to 0. So the drone will move 0. Then the drone's going to place a cake block, and then we're going to change height to be equal to height plus 1. So in this case, height is 0, so 0 plus 1 equals 1. So now height is equal to 1. So now we're going to loop back up here. We're going to create a new drone. He's going to start right at the beginning. And he's going to go and he's going to move up in the direction of height. Or sorry, the distance of height. And remember, height now is 1 because we just added 1 to it down here. Then he's going to place a cake block, and we're going to add 1 more to height. So now we're going to create a new drone, and he's going to move up 2, so on and so forth. It's going to do that 10 times. So now, if we go and test out our code in the simulator, we should see that, bam, we get a whole big tower here. Pretty nifty. So we're well on the way to a new cake block. Let's see what we got to do next. So now we're going to do something a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rename our function right here. I'm going to name this tower. I'm going to do that because right now we have a good function that is very effective at building a tower. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a second function. So I'm going to call this one main. So when we press the M button, it's going to run main as our function. It's going to run that first. But what I can do is I can click on function again. You see down here on the bottom, we've got a little tab thing that says tower. I can just drag that right over here. So now what will happen is if I run the main function, it will go and it will see that it says tower right here, and it will say, oh, that means go over here and run this function. This is going to be very helpful for us keeping all of our data sorted and making sure that things are somewhat easy to read. But if we go ahead and go back into our simulator for a second, you should see that when we press the M button, things work exactly the same. We still have it building a tower. So, but now we're going to do some changes to it. Basically, what we want our drone to do is we want him to go and create this tower here, as he's doing right now, but then we're going to want him to make another one. We're going to want him to move forwards a little bit and then create a new tower there. And we're going to want him to do that a whole bunch of times until we've got a whole big wall created. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new variable again. And we're going to call this variable, well, we've got a height. Let's call this a length. Okay? And let's go ahead and set this variable to 0. So once again, click Math, and then get the little 0 right here and stick that right on there. Perfect. And now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and let's go back to our tower function for a second. Let's get a new moving drone number in here. So let's go ahead and stick this guy right after height. Okay, so now we're going to move drone. We're going to move him forwards. Distance. Let's go to our variables and let's get length and stick that right in there. So now what's going to happen is length is equal to 0, and the drone will move forward 0 inside of this function here. So this will still make a tower. In fact, let's go ahead and test that out just to be absolutely sure. Always good to test your functions as much as possible to make sure that they're working properly. And yeah, look at that. We still have a tower, no problem. But now, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to say, okay, let's make another loop. And let's go ahead and repeat this one 10 times. And let's say, okay, drone, build a tower, and then let's go and set, so go down to variables and click set length to, let's go to math, there we go. Grab this little guy again, the one with the 2 holes and the plus sign, stick that right in there. Let's set length equal to, once again, variables length plus, go to math, length plus 1. So now, this is what's going to happen, is we're going to start here, length is equal to 0. And what's going to happen is this is going to repeat 10 times. It's going to go and build a tower. So we go over here and say, okay, height equals 0. And then let's create a new drone, move drone up height. Okay, that's 0, remember. And we're going to move forward length. Oh, well, length is also equal to 0, so it will stay in the same spot. Then we'll place a cake block, and then set height equal to height plus 1. And we'll loop back to the beginning. And now we're going to move up height, which is 1, but we're still going to move forward 0, which is length, because we haven't changed length yet. So now this will run as normal, and it will just keep on stacking blocks and build a tower. And once this is run 10 times, it'll get to the end, and that will have finished tower up right here. And now we're going to change the length to length plus 1. So now we'll go ahead and repeat to the beginning, and then it says, okay, now we're going to go ahead and run tower again. So we go back over to tower, and now we're going to set height to 0. Okay, so now length equals 1, and height equals 0. Now the drone will say, okay, I need to move up height. Okay, I don't need to move up because that's equal to 0, but I'm going to move forward 1. Place a cake block. Okay, height equals height plus 1, loop back around. Now the new drone moves up 1, moves forward 1, place a cake block, so on and so forth. And it will repeat this 10 times total. So now we should have a function that will create 10 towers. So let's go ahead and let's see if that worked. So let's test this in the simulator. Brilliant. And there we go. Look at that. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 towers right here. So that has formed us one wall of our giant cake block. So now, it stands to reason that all we have to do is we've got one wall. To build a bunch of cake blocks, we just need to build a whole bunch of them all right next to each other. Now, I'm not going to do it just by pressing the M button a bunch of times. We're going to do this all in code. Now what we're going to do, it's actually going to be very similar to what we've done so far. We've created a tower first, then we created a bunch of towers. Now we need to do this a bunch of times. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what we're going to do is pretty much the exact same thing that we just did. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to rename this wall. Okay, because now we have a function that builds a tower. Now we have a function that builds a wall. Now I'm going to grab a new function, stick that out here. We'll name this one main. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and, well, if we go and you'll see that we have, if we go into our functions, you see that we have a new function for wall. We can stick that right down there. Now, whenever we press the button, it'll run a wall. And wall says, okay, do some stuff. Oh, run tower. It'll go run down here, and it'll run all of this stuff. So you can have functions kind of sitting inside of each other. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create one more variable. We've got our height of the cube. We've got our length of the cube. Now we're going to need the width of the cube. So let's go ahead and let's create a new variable. So click variable. Let's stick that on the top and name this width. Perfect. And let's go to set that to 0. So go to math. The 0 is right here. Stick that right on the end. Perfect. And now what we're going to want to do is pretty much the exact same thing that we have here. We want to run a wall 10 times, but we want to move the wall over just a little bit every single time. So let's go ahead and let's grab a loop. We'll stick that right there. Stick wall inside of that. And then we will say variables set width to, now go to math and click on one of these nice blue blocks here. Stick that right there. We're going to set it to width plus 1. So now we have a function setting width to 0, and now repeat 10 times, build a wall, and then set width to width plus 1, and repeat that again. So let's go ahead and let's test that and see if it works. So here we go. Let's test it in the simulator. Let's see what happens. Oh, that didn't work. That's kind of odd. Anybody have any ideas why that might not have worked? Go ahead, think about it for a minute. Okay, that's enough. I'll show you. So the reason that didn't work is because we've got a variable for width, but we're never actually telling the drone to move anywhere using this number. So we need to put in another move variable. So let's go ahead and let's get drone move. Let's tell him to move, oh, let's say to the right. We're going to want him to move in the direction of width. So let's go to variables, width, stick that right in there. And that should be it. So now, when we run, we're going to say, okay, width is equal to 0. And now 10 times, create a wall, and then set width equal to width plus 1. So when we create a wall, the wall is, okay, set length to 0, and then create a tower. And when we create a tower, we go over here, set height equal to 0. So now, length, width, height, they're all 0 right now. Now the drone is going to move up his height, which is 0, move forward his length, which is 0, then move right his distance, which is 0, or his width, which is 0. So he's not going to move anywhere. It's going to make a cake block. We're going to increase height, and now he's going to move up 1, but still forward and to the right 0. And he'll do that until he's built himself a nice tower. And then once he's done that 10 times, we'll go back here, we'll change length, we'll loop back around and run tower again. where height now equals 0, length equals 1, width equals 0. So we'll place a cake block now, so on and so forth, and he'll build another tower. And then, once we've done this 10 times, we'll run all the way back up to here. Say, okay, we built a wall, now what? Okay, width now equals width plus 1. And so, then we loop back around and we create another wall with width equaling 1 now. So now length equals 0, create a tower, height equals 0. My wife down there again. Okay, width equals 1, height equals 0, length equals 0. So now he moves up 0, he moves forward 0, but he moves to the right 1. And now he'll move up 1, move forward 0, move to the right 1. And so, if we go ahead and try running this now, oh, I think I need to refresh first. Let's see if this works for us. Here we go. And there we go. We have our giant Mongo cube of cake. Look at all that cake. Cake for everyone! Yay! So yes, if you have not gotten this, or if you need some assistance, go ahead and ask me up at the front of the room. I will be more than willing to help you out. And yeah, if you want to mess around with this, here's the fun thing. What we can do is now we can very easily change some numbers here to change the dimensions of our cake. So if we want the cake to be larger, for instance, what we can do is we could set the width to be 20. So now, if we go ahead and run that now, remember the length and the height variables are going to stay the same, but now we're just running width a few extra times. So if we run it now, our cake is going to be a lot wider than it was before. Look how big that cake is. If we want to change everything, let's go ahead and change the length to 20 and the height to 20. We're going to just have a really, really big cube of cake now. Let's give that a go. Oh, looks like it didn't save my changes. Let's try that one more time. Save. There we go. And now this is why this does take a little bit of time sometimes, because it's running everything so many times. It's creating, well, a lot of towers, one at a time. Now I'm going to recommend that you guys don't run things beyond 20, simply because you very easily could crash the computer by doing that, simply because it is such a big block of cake. More cake than the computers can handle. So there you go. Let's actually stand on top of this one. See if that works for us. Do do do. Do do do. Do 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 do. Almost there. Here we go. Ah, there we go. Whew. Look at this endless terrain of cake, except it ends right over there. So much cake. Now we can just dig inside of it and live in a nice big pile of cake if we like. Oh, and there's water underneath too. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Our giant cake block. If you have finished it, go ahead and show me your work. And if you would like to just play inside of your cake block like this, you are more than welcome to. If you want to go and do some work on Prodigy, I am fine with that too. Anyways, thank you for watching and have fun.